Hey, good evening. Come on in. Okay. Um, all right. Thank you all for coming, being here tonight. In Ghana, I heard a lot. Akwaba, welcome. Just wanted to show you some pictures and tell you a little bit about what happened. One of the reasons that this is important to me is because these kinds of things are born out of Arlington's DNA. You know, it's been now over 50 years since Arlington became involved in Africa, in mission work in Africa. I think you guys know this, but this is the church that sent my parents as missionaries in Africa when I was 5 years old. Okay, and so I have a memory of being in this room being prayed over, our family being prayed over before. The clearest memory I have is being picked up at the airport when we came home, and it was in the car were Sue Ryder and Danny Ryder, and I don't know if Katie and Jennifer were there. I think it was just us three. We arranged it for just us three to ride back. And your mom said, "How about McDonald's?" And got a McDonald's hamburger, which I hadn't had a hamburger in years and years and years. It was awesome. But I do have that memory of coming in. But anyway, then Arlington continued to support work in Liberia. And that's a story that's incredible, that the timing and what God did at the time in Liberia, West Africa, because no one knew the Civil War was coming. No one knew that it's estimated, United Nations has estimated over 2 million people were killed in that war in Liberia, but the church was planted and medical workers were trained that were needed, that no one knew were needed. And during the Civil War, the only clinic that stayed open within a 150-mile radius was the Church of Christ Clinic. And the people that Dad trained to run the clinic and be the physician's assistants and the nurses and those things. Then I get to Ghana. And how I got to Ghana, one of the reasons I got to Ghana was when I was asked to go to Ghana, and I asked myself, can I do this? I knew I could. I'd done it. I knew it was going to be different as a older person, but can I do this? Yes, I can, because we've been here before and done this before. Then when I get to Ghana, within 15 miles of where I lived, Liberian refugees start pouring into the country. United Nations put them in Ghana, in Bujumbura, which is right next to the Village of Hope. And I started going over there and meeting people that recognized me. You're a doctor's son. You're a doctor's son, And we worked there at the UN Liberian refugee camp quite a bit. We sent Arlington, supporting me and helping me, sent lots of Liberian refugees back to Liberia after the war was over. And they started providing buses. $100, you could ride a bus back to Liberia and see if your home was there. And we started sending people back, and they started planting churches, and they planted an orphanage on the land that Dad had the clinic, and all these things. So that's all grown from this church in our DNA. And it's an amazing thing to see. I put this first for a reason. This is just inside the wall of the high school. It's called Hope College. It's a brand new, 8 years old now. And it's one of the best high schools in Ghana. Fred has started it. And top scores, top sending to university of students. 100% of the students at Hope College go to university. All the orphans of the Village of Hope go to the high school. And then, people from all over the country. There's about 500 people at the high school. But anyway, that's just the wall on the outside. I took a picture of this sun because when I arrived, the Hamatan was in full force. The Hamatan is the time of year, a couple months, end of dry season, so it hadn't rained in 6 months. It's dusty, it's dry. It's 98 degrees right there. And we're on the equator. That's equator sun, which is a different kind of sun than any other sun. But it's a beautiful, clear day. I don't know if this picture captures. There's a haze. Instead of that sun being in your face, it's like film is covering it up. And what it is sand and dust everywhere. And so, I just took that picture because that's the weather that we experienced, that I experienced at this time. The rains are coming. Everybody's starting to pray for all the rains to come because it's about time to plant. But everything's kind of dirty and dusty. Fred and Faustina, sorry. Fred is the mind and the heart and the vision behind the Village of Hope. I can remember when the Village of Hope had 10 kids. Now there's 7 orphan homes. When Arlington visited, when I was there were 10. 3 of the orphan homes have been converted into hospital buildings. And the hospital is now much bigger than it used to be. I told Fred, we were eating dinner one night, and after about 3 nights, and I had been visiting people and hearing stories, and I told Fred, I said, it is a very rare thing, an extremely rare thing, to see an organization grow grow wide. Because the Village of Hope, started with 10 orphans. Now there's 250 orphans. Now there's a hospital. It's a hospital with the only neonatal ICU in it. There's the school that I'll show you that I used to run is K through 9th grade. They call it JSS. And it's 600 students. There's 2 churches on campus, one school and one where we used to meet beside the school. I'll show you in just a minute. There's a brand new ministry to abandoned babies. Fred started getting so many calls. This is going to be the first thing I show you in pictures. Fred started getting so many calls from the police and social services. Hey, do you guys take in abandoned babies? No. And Fred said he was sitting in his office one day and he said, why aren't we? Why don't we? And so I'm going to show you the result of that. 2 years ago, he raised money, built 2 houses to house abandoned babies, and I'll show you some of those. The Street Children's Ministry has doubled in size. These are the kids in Accra that are too old to bring into an orphanage. They're just homeless on the streets. So they bring them in. They have a dormitory, guys' dormitory, girls' dormitory. They have classes to choose from, auto mechanic class, sewing class. They call it Leatherworks. This is a bag they gave me, a computer bag. This is one that they make. They sell them to kind of fund it. It's called Off the Streets Ministry. And they live there, and they train them, and they have Bible studies with them, and when they graduate, they set them up in a business back in their hometown. If they're in sewing, they get a sewing machine. They get a year's worth of cloth and supplies, and they negotiate with building landlords to pay their rent for 2 years in their new business, and they set them up there and then follow up with them. So that ministry has doubled in size since then. All these things coming out of that man's mind, and I'd tell you more about him, but here's the thing that I told Fred. I already mentioned it's rare to see something go this way, but to go farther this way. Because start talking to these older kids that I grew up with. All these kids that I'm going to show you were like this when I was there. And like this. And now they're grown men and women. And they've been through great things. They're doctors, they're lawyers. There's a member of parliament. There's accountants. 15 of the kids work at the Village of Hope. 3 of them I noticed were right around Fred's inner circle. They're being trained to run this place, you know. And I was laughing with ACO because I said, what are you doing in the office next to director? And he just laughed. I said, how in the world could you be in that office? He said, God is great. God is good. He said, I don't know. I said, you were so much trouble. I can't believe you. But anyway, Daniel and Matilda Adepoku, they were retired from the Village of Hope as house parents. Some of my favorite house parents, if you went there, you remember the Ting House. Gifty and Sarah were their daughters, like this. Now they're grown women. But Daniel and Matilda were called back by Fred after retirement, and Matilda is running the abandoned baby ministry. And I said, there's no one else in the world. And just got to spend some amazing time in their home. The chief of Feta gave them land to build a house on because of all their work in Feta. And so they live next door to Fred. I'm going to start here. This is Kwabi. Kwabi came to the Village of Hope on December the 24th. He was found in a plastic bag outside a store by a lady who took the plastic bag to a policeman and said, there's a baby in here. I don't know if he's alive. And this is Kwabi. And he's Kwabi because he came to the Village of Hope on a Tuesday. And he's Tuesday born. So that, by the way, is my name in Ghana because I'm Tuesday born. So I was instantly drawn. And they showed me a picture in NICU of the neonatal ICU. And he looked rough. They said we didn't know if he was going to make it. And already 3 weeks later, he's doing a little bit better. This is the home. Fred's built 2 homes for the abandoned babies. They can hold 40 total. Right now they have 13. The most they've ever had at one time is 28. But they adopt these kids out all over the world. They said several have been adopted into Europe, several in the United States. They just had one child that was adopted to the Netherlands, one to England. But it's these corners of the house have an apartment and then a baby room that has 4 beds in it. And they have 8 caregivers already hired on staff. And if they get to 40, then basically you have a caregiver who is with those 4 children all the time, lives with them. That's their only responsibility. They have their own little apartment. And then they've got a lady that cooks for them in the kitchen. The kitchen is through that door on the end. But then they have this big area right here. These are all the babies and caregivers that are there right now, plus an intruder. And but yeah, every one of these kids were found abandoned by the police. This is Charles. When I walked into Charles's room, he threw his arms up and wanted to be picked up. This is Kofi. Kofi is Thursday born. So this is Kwabi. Just got a close-up on his face. You can tell he's not quite recovered yet from everything. He's one of the newest ones right there. But Matilda called me and said, come over to the house. Come over to the house. And she said, I've dressed them all up. I want you to have a picture with all the babies. And so they had them all dressed in their nicest uniforms. And I think I have a couple more pictures of those kids. And some of these may be out of order just a little bit. If you've been to the Village of Hope, we're standing at the school, just outside the elementary school, looking down toward the orphan homes and the staff homes. Okay, my house now is a guest house. The guest houses, y'all stayed right next door to me, but now my house and Fred's house have been added to the guest house inventory because of so many.
Which buildings did that were converted from
the Barnett houses. Do you remember Don Barnett? Remember hearing that? He had 3 wives. I mean, not all at the same time. I don't mean that. But he's had a big supporter of the Village of Hope. Super guy. He's passed away now, but his wife died. He remarried, and she died. And then he remarried. So he built 3 homes in honor of all of his wives. And so there were the Carolyn Barnett, Joy Barnett, and Marita Barnett house, and now they're part of so they were the ones closest to the road. Here's the school, the elementary school, and my office was the top one on the left. That's where I used to have it. And that was the school I run. This is the church building. When I was there, it was wooden. It was just a little wooden structure. And the wooden structure where we worshiped as a group, when you guys came, it's torn down now. That's not even the entrance to the Village of Hope now. So this is looking from, nostalgic, looking outside my office, looking at the Village of Hope now, and you can see there's 10 more buildings. And what they are is they're all staff houses. And it just made a lot of sense to me. I mean, Fred had told me he dreamed of building staff houses because Fred and I used to go to Feta and to surrounding villages and beg landlords to let us have rooms for staff. Because part of the deal is we'll pay 2 years of rent. So when I would hire a teacher, I would also have to go find a room for a teacher to live in, an apartment or a room or something. And found a couple of houses that they let me have the whole house. I would just pay for each room. So all these are staff houses now. The buildings that are going up the road beside the poles, that's the 2 baby houses that are new now. But this is looking from the school, 3rd floor of the school, and look in that direction. There's me standing in front of it. I can remember the day every building has to be commissioned in Ghana. You have this long ceremony. You sit out in the sun all day, and you're like, could this be over anytime soon? But I remember when we commissioned this building, and the day before, scaffolding covered the entire building. And we had to spend all night taking that scaffolding down. And Daniel, I was sitting at his house, he said, do you want to know when I knew I loved you? And I said, I would love to know when you knew you loved me. That would be awesome. He said, that night you stayed with us all night and took down the scaffolding. He said, we didn't sleep. We were so tired. And he said, that was the day I knew I loved you. And I was like, man, that's one of the coolest. I didn't know. I don't know if y'all remember Justice. He drove you around a lot. Justice taught me to drive. He was the guy that taught me to drive, and we had a lot of laughs about me learning to drive. Huh? No. No. Justice Quelarbi is his name. And, we cried a lot. Whoops. Okay, these are the 2 Bible teachers that I hired at the school. We had 2 Bible teachers, and they're both still there. Here's one of the things that I told Fred I said, I need to describe to you what I mean by everything's going deeper, is how many staff members that I said, how long have you been here now? 18 years, 20 years, 25 years, 13 years, 14 years, because they're on a mission. They're on a mission raising these kids. And so this is Daniel, this is Solomon. We as a church, through, of course, me taking the lead in Africa, but we as a church train both of these men in Bible training, in Bible teaching and preaching. We sent them both to school, and they're just amazing men. I spoke to the teachers in service that week. One of the things I did, and at the end of that, this is a very Ghanaian custom, is you surround people and you sing over them and you pray over them. So this is them doing that at the end of our in-service. This is the teaching staff at that school, Hope Christian Academy. at the end of our day together, end of our second day together. Faustina, now runs the school. She's sitting right next to me. But this is the entire staff. And then this is all the ones I hired that are still there. So when we were doing this picture, they were saying, this is the old group. This is the old group, you know. And I told them, except for me. Huh? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. That was one of the coolest things. You'll see more in a minute. This is Charles's classroom. The kids love him. This is one of the guys when we were there. Charles was a little child at the Village of Hope, and now he's fourth grade teacher, and the kids love him. Watching him teach is one of the most amazing things. So this is his fourth grade classroom. This is, Catherine, are you here? I've got this picture for Catherine. This is Catherine's peanut brittle. She came over the day before I left and said, you got to take peanut brittle. And so this is Catherine. I blew up this picture for Catherine. And her peanut brittle was a hit. They call it toffee, not candy. So, yeah, we're just walking around the classroom. They're showing me stuff, looking at stuff. Charles is showing us. The kids were like, show the garden, show the garden. Charles had taken them and they'd planted a garden. And they were growing all kinds of vegetables and learning how to cook them and learning to do things. So Charles is showing me and then I'm showing them where I came from and what my plane did. My plane went over the ocean and all these things. So this is Charles Bukhari and his classroom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. They want the kids, all their tests in Ghanaian schools are in English. So they want English being taught, except in the Ghanaian language class, everything's in English. Yeah. This is the third grade class. I remember I had some interns that painted those murals back there on the wall. This is on Sunday, one of the most amazing days. I preached at the Hope College, the high school church. That morning, and then Fred had told all the kids, anybody that could come back, we're going to have a party, and we had a meal. Some of the kids said, director paid our transportation there and back. He gave them all money to travel, and so we had probably 80, 90 old kids there. That were there, and this is at our party. One of the things I discovered, this is so unusual. When you're at the Village of Hope, and it's still the same, all the younger kids at the orphanage, girls have hair no longer than mine right now. You remember all the girls had that short hair, You cannot grow your hair in Ghana if you're a girl until after high school. You can't grow it out. And so I'm seeing all these girls, and I've never seen them with hair before. I had a harder time recognizing the girls than I did the guys. And it's because I had never, I don't know if y'all remember Adisa, but Adisa had hair down to like right here, and I had never seen her before with hair like that. But this is Daniel and Matilda's daughter, Gifty, right here in the front. But here's some of the guys. All the guys have beards. If you're in Ghana, if you're a Ghanaian man and you're in your 20s, you have a full beard, if possible. And when we took our picture, I covered up my face and said, I got to cover up my face. I don't have a beard. I'm not like you guys. Just some of the kids. Columbus on the far right, he and Shaibu Osman are building a school in the northern part of Ghana, and they said they want other children to have the same experience they had at the Village of Hope. And so they've been partnering with Americans that came in Oklahoma City, and they've already got the money. I mean, Shaibu sent me yesterday, they've built the walls of the school in the last 2 weeks. So they've got the money. The school's going to open next year, and I met with Columbus and Shaibu on Sunday afternoon, the first Sunday I got there, because Shaibu was headed back up to north, and looked at the plans, and they've just got great dreams. And it's exactly what you want the Village of Hope to do, is to raise these kids and then send them out. I told Fred it's a much more effective way of conquering Ghana with the gospel is to just raise a group of people around you as family and then send them out. So anyway, this is Fred and Faustina's daughter in the blue, Samantha, and that's their son in the hat and the sunglasses in the black. Byron and Freddie, who are Fred and Faustina's children, sons, they took all my pictures for me. I told them, I said, I'm so terrible. I said, I don't know how many events over the years I've said, man, I didn't get any pictures. How many things have been lost? And so they just followed me around and took over 2,000 pictures. And some of them are duplicates, but I've gotten a lot of pictures. This is, once again, all these kids. I have pictures of them standing, and they're come up to my waist. This is Dauni. Dauni was an accountant at the Village of Hope. This is Michael, and he works in human resources at the Village of Hope. Huh? Yeah, he does a little bit. Dauni has a twin who just graduated from medical school. So he's a doctor. These are some of the girls that grew up. Once again, they all had short hair. And this is at Hope College. More of the kids sitting around. I'm getting to a picture. This is at the party. In Ghana, every event has a high table. They call it the high table, and I don't like it. But at the high table, I always have to sit at the high table with Fred and Faustina, and all the kids are out here. And we're about to eat. Do y'all remember Seth and Stephen? Does anybody remember? Those little short guys, and everybody was concerned that they're not growing. Man, this is them. You can see their face. You can see it. But when Seth walked up to me at church the first Sunday, and he looked at me, and I said, well, you're going to have to tell me if it's Seth or Stephen. But I can see your face, but what are you doing up here? You're supposed to be down here. And they were laughing. But anyway, that's ACO I told you about. That's kind of in Fred's inner circle. Benedicta and George Bully. George Bully. Just some more of the guys. That's Byron Asari. Mr. Abakwe. He was the principal. I was the director of the school, and he was my principal. And he came over. He was retired. He's 85. But he came over to the party to see us. And he is now, he said, he kind of smiled. He said, I'm a chief now. But the tribal people elected him to be a chief. And so he's in his chief stuff, you know. But it was so good to see him. His daughter was in the second or third grade, and she was a little bitty girl, and there's a picture of her in a second, but we sat and prayed this day because she was going to find out the next day if she got into medical school at the University of Ghana. And so I called her Monday afternoon, and I said, Priscilla, what's the news? She said, I got in. And so she was excited. I've never in my life seen the meal that we had that Sunday, as much food as we had. Everybody got a half a chicken, and it was just a chicken cut in two, and you got the whole thing, the whole half. 2 cups of rice, and so we're about to eat our meal, and I mean, there's no telling how much this meal cost. This is Rita. And this is her nephew, Bill, named after an American visitor. That's her sister's baby. Rita texted me like 30 minutes ago, said, what are you doing? I said, I'm about to show pictures of you to a lot of people. And she was like, that's cool. But here's some more of the girls. Try to speed up just a little bit. Some of the kids that were there, I'm addressing them, and they gave me some gifts. There's me I can't eat all this food. Yeah. That's Adisa right there. I mentioned she's got her hair up right there, but she has a daughter that looks like her. All the kids were calling her daughter Junior Adisa. They weren't calling her by her name. They were saying, "You're Junior Adisa." This is all of us afterwards. This are all the kids that were there that had traveled from outside to be there. Just an amazing moment. And then they're praying over me and singing some beautiful songs. Anybody from the Misfits class recognize this face? You guys put him through school. Huh? Uh-huh. Yeah, that's Alex and his brother, Charles. Alex is an accountant now. Graduated from college. You guys paid for that Misfits class. For a lot of years, you collected money, passed that basket around. And he just looked me in the eye and said, "Tell them I am so grateful. I am so grateful for what you've done." This is Priscilla in the middle, Mr. Abiquay's daughter, that will be going to medical school. And that's Fred Jr., Fred's son, that took most of these pictures. I got to see my friend Abu at the art center. You remember going to shopping at the art center? There was a man there who was a cripple named Abu. Well, this one got out of place. This was the first Sunday after church, the ones that live in Feta. Shaibu in the middle. Rita's got her hand on his beard. But Shaibu is the one with Columbus that's building the school in northern Ghana. That's working with Memorial Road Church of Christ in Oklahoma City. But this is Abu. He's been crippled his whole life. He was born crippled. I would take the Americans shopping and, on the bus, give them instructions about how to shop, because you have to negotiate for everything. You can't, you don't pay the price they tell you. And so after you've done that 157 times, you just kind of hang back a little bit. And what I would do most of the time is spend time with Abu, just talking to him, having Bible studies with him. He's a Muslim. And I've really made peace about Abu, because he started to tell me, I want to become a Christian. I want to be baptized. But if I do that, I'll be beaten. I'll be kicked out of the home I live in because it's a Muslim home, and I won't have anywhere to go. And I would say, well, let's work on that. And he said, this is all I've known my whole life. I don't know that anybody will accept me. I mean, he would say, look at me. And anyway, we were just about to pull in here to the art center, and Fred said, do you remember Abu? And I said, yeah, I was just thinking about Abu. I said, I wonder if he's still here. And Fred said he is. He said, I saw him like 3 weeks ago. Fred said, I talked to him for a little while. And so I got to see Abu and spend some time with him. And this is us, and this is an example of a shop that you go shopping in with all the carvings and everything. This story I need to tell you, I had, while I lived in Ghana, 27 interns, college interns, from from different schools. Even had a couple from Switzerland and England, but mostly Harding, Abilene, Lipscomb, Freed-Hardeman, those schools. Had a few from other schools. This was one of the first ones I had, Lori, and she wanted to get a little exposure to the city of Accra. And so the week that I went to teach at the college, I would go about every 6 weeks to teach a week at the college in Accra, the Christian college. And so I took her with me. And every morning we would, instead of me leaving, go straight to the college, I would take her to one of the markets where there was a ministry for young ladies. And so she would spend the day there, and then after the day was over, I'd pick her up and we'd go back home. But one day, Lori called me in the middle of the day, said, when you pick me up today, we really need to do something. And she found this woman on the right and this little baby right here. And the baby, this is 2 or 3 months later. Baby's Muhammad. When she found the baby, she thought the baby was dead. Couldn't open his eyes, his head just rolled back. But she could feel his chest just. And so I got over there. Lori and I took him to the hospital, took Camilla with us. And then eventually he stayed at the Village of Hope recovering some for a few months before they, Fred just said, let's let him stay here for a while. So anyway, Camilla had this picture and became very close to Lori. This is that little baby on this side. That's Muhammad. Just graduated high school. This is Camilla. Myself and Gary Cage have been, and a few other people have been helping her get on her feet. She was kicked out of her house by a Muslim father when she got pregnant with Muhammad. That she then took in her sister's baby because her sister died in childbirth, which happens quite a bit. And so he's not in the picture. He's away at high school now. And he had already gone to school. But that's Muhammad and Camilla. And Gary and I have sent her a small amount of money every month for 12 years. And I wondered what I was going to find. And 12 years she's built this. This is very typical of a Ghanaian home. And if you can look in the back, it's got a roof on it. What you do is you build a room and get a roof on it first. You lay out the foundation, you dig out the foundation. But she said, every month I buy 1 bag of cement. I set aside some of the money for 1 bag of cement. Every month I buy 5 concrete blocks. And when she got to a certain point, she would buy 1 roofing sheet a month. And the next month buy 1 roofing sheet. And so now, this is 12 years later, she's got 2 rooms in the back to live in. These rooms are not roofed yet. They're not finished. But that's where she's gotten. And she pulled out this box and she said, if you need to see it, here is every receipt for the last 12 years. And here is every remittance that you've sent to me here and the receipts that go with that money. And she's now also taken in 2 or 3 girls that one girl had been raped and didn't have anywhere to go. Another girl, her stepfather was abusing her and needed to get out of the house. And so, it was pretty amazing. This is back at the village. I told you about Rita and her nephew. This is Rita's store. She has a store across the street from the Village of Hope. And 2 or 3 times we just all went there and talked and visited. So this is all of us. This is my friend William that's in my schoolwork. He came over to see me, and he's sitting there with us. And he's the preacher at a church in another town, and one of the kids lives in his town. So they made a connection because she's looking for a church. And so that was a God thing to see the preacher at that church come there. 4 hours. Yeah, it's 4 hours away. So his son goes to the high school. So he was bringing his son back to school. And so he came over and spent the night with us and went to church with us Sunday. But that's William. He visited here last semester. Yeah, he was here. But this is all of us one day just outside Rita's store. Visiting. Rita's down here on the far left, and that's her sister, and that's her brother in the black. I told them they all have okra eyes. Her name is Rita Okra, Juliet Okra, Francis Okra, and then he's holding Bill, And I said, you all have the same eye. They're the ochre eyes. And they thought that was hilarious. Still soccer being played at the Village of Hope every day. School and church building. Me walking up the road past the baby homes. Christy, you've heard of Christy. Camille, there's Christy. Christy was the first special needs child that came to the Village of Hope just before I got there. And she lived in one of the homes, and it was hard and difficult to have, because, living in that home were 24 children and her. And the house parents were taking care of her. Now, Cecilia has a house to herself with just Christy, and that's her only job, is to take care of Christy. Christy's 22 years old now, and when she came to the village, she was like 3 or 4, they thought. Danny and Camille, and they live in the Effa home. They named the home after Emmanuel, and that's the house parents who raised Christy and who have now both passed away. Vic and Da Emmanuel raised her. And so that's the Effa house. I said that was beautiful. This is the hospital. All of those buildings that you can see are the hospital.
Where's the original clinic?
See the building up top on the left? Yeah. That was the original. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 buildings. Yeah. Once again, the school. This is the road in front of the Village of Hope, going to Accra, going to Feta and the ocean. This is the clinic. The hospital. The Daniel Clinic is now the administrative part of that. There's the play area, the basketball. Some of you all recognize. That's the big area, football field. These are all staff houses. Danny, the Jackman house is just to the left of that last one you see there, where you guys stayed. Here's your baptistry, still in use. Yeah, I made sure and got my picture by the baptistry, but it's still being used. And here's where you worshiped when you came here. Those who came to, it's gone. It's gone now. That where the buses are parked was the entrance to the Village of Hope then. So these are the orphan homes, the original orphan homes, Boiting House, Traverse City House, all those. They're cooking for the orphans. This is their kitchen where they cook. One of the things I love about Fred and the way he does this is he doesn't want these kids to move into a compound and forget where they came from. So they cook like they do in the villages. They wash like they do in the villages. They everything is done like you're in a village, like you would do if you were, at home. And this is how everybody in the villages cook every meal like this. So we're at the training center now. I'm going to go a little bit faster. Like I said, this is the sewing class, and what these guys are sewing, I'll show you at the end. I'm going to play you 2 songs that we sang at church so you can hear. But they're sewing the Hope College. They're sewing their dress uniforms. Like when they come to church on Sunday, they wear all white. And Fred's contracted these guys to learn how to make clothes, so they're making all the clothes for the Hope High School. This is auto mechanics. They're working on a shock absorber. Their teacher made them tell me every part of the shock absorber, how to take it apart, how to do everything, because they're learning how to do that. So we're at shock absorber class right now. This is Leatherworks. This is where they make bags and backpacks and duffel bags and things like that. It's called the Hope Training Institute, Ayawaso campus. And it's in Ayawaso, which is a part of Accra. No, a different tailor made my shirt. This is the hairdressing school that they have. This is the dormitory at the institute. This is the boys' dormitory. And back at the sewing class, this is the boys' dormitory. That's the director now, Fred, and then the housemaster, the one guy who runs the dorm. These are some of the girls in hairdressing and beauty classes. This is the going into the sewing shop. Okay. And then this is the administration building, dining hall. They have a church. They have a room where they can have church together and stuff like that. And then this is the girls' dorm, which is fairly new. This is back at the village. This is my house, if y'all remember. Some of y'all may remember them in front of my house. Killed a cobra right there to the right of the door one day. That was killed another one inside, but those are scary moments. This is looking out of my house. Fred's old house, looking up at the orphanage home or orphanage. You see how the trees have grown if you've seen pictures before. And then baptistry again. I don't know how that's the old entrance where you used to come in. It's now.
So the nursery, all that is still on the left-hand side.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the nursery building. That's the Barnett houses that are now part of the hospital, Danny. They used to be orphan homes. So, I got 2 more slides. Thank you all for your patience. The first song is in Tree. It's a beautiful song, thanking God, giving Him praise for His grace and mercy. And all-powerful. And Abraham knew it. David knew it. Everybody knew it, but this is the high school, and you can see what they're wearing. They got it from the Hope Training Institute. And this is the auditorium of the high school, to give you an example. The strangest thing, I got home, and I'm so sad, I got home and realized that the only thing Freddie didn't take pictures of was the outside of the high school buildings, and I don't know how we didn't do that. But this is the inside of the auditorium. And there are 500 students at the high school, so we had about 520 in worship that day with the staff and everybody. And the first song is in Tree, and the second song, you may be able to sing with them. And I'll just let these play. How do I get these going, Jacob, real quick? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jacob, there's one more. Like I said, you may want to join in. They're singing the Magnificat. Over there in the front balling in the front of the church building. But yeah, just glory be to God for what he's doing. This I believe is what missional church is all about. You know, helping the creation flourish in ways that it's never done before. And to watch these kids now go and share the love that they experienced for so many is an amazing thing. So, thank you all.
The water situation is always difficult there. Is that taken care of?
Well, I mean, there's just still water tanks. You just think water trucks come and load water into the tanks just like always. But, you know, now there's 120 tanks all over Kansas. Just one last thing. Fred has built a high school. The chief, Nana Yaboa II, just a great man. I got to meet him several times. He gave Fred the land for the orphanage and the land for the school, and then saw what Fred was doing and gave him 75 acres around the village. Fred built the high school on 15 acres, so he still got 50 acres. But Chief, before he died, said, I know you're going to do great things. And so I want to give you more than you need because you just keep your vision going. Keep going. He said, you're making my land look good. The college, the Church of Christ University in Accra, where I used to teach, I wish I had time to show you the pictures of that. When I was there, it was just a Bible training school. Now it's nursing, College of Nursing, College of Business, College of IT, College of Education. There's 30 buildings, but they're landlocked. And Fred and Samuel Chimacy have been talking about moving the undergrad at Heritage out to those 50 acres. Because the College of Education can send teachers over to the school to student teach. And the College of Nursing can send nursing students to the hospital to train. And so that I think is going to happen. And then a Kroc campus will just be graduate education, master's and doctoral level education. So just God's doing amazing things, great things. Gosh, this body has just been a part of that for a long time. I kind of described to a couple people, it's been a little hard to describe, but you just leave and there's brown dirt with rows furrowed in it, and maybe some green plants starting to stick out. And you go back and there's these fruit trees. And people are picking the fruit and then taking that fruit and planting more and planting more and planting more. And it's kind of overwhelming at times to see what God's doing. So, yeah, thank you all.
How many students stay in
Wednesday nights. If we could get some of us to rotate and take a night, because with both Trauma Reboot and Embrace Grace is beginning next week, and we have 3 or 4, right? Little ones that are going to need help watching, and then meals too. We're going to start preparing some meals for both those groups. We'll serve them both. Senior servants, our seniors, we've got a banquet coming up. What we used to call the Valentine's banquet. It's going to be a little late this year, but it's going to be Saturday, March the 2nd, I believe, whatever that Saturday is. And it's going to, okay, well, so maybe somebody can help me. The first Saturday in March. March 1st. Okay, March 1st. And we're going to have a banquet for you, for our seniors.
But we're not going to let the man down to speak on that.
Seniors spring banquet. Yeah. It's going to be country hoedown, so Western hoedown. So kind of come with all your Western attire. That's right. Yes, you should. You Texas girl. Noon. It's going to be at noon. It's going to be a luncheon. High noon at the OK Corral. That's right. Let's see. Cap pistols. That's fine. You sure can. You got to leave your horse outside, though. Anybody else? Anything? All right, let's pray. Lord, what a blessing it is tonight to be able to hear Tommy and see pictures of Ghana and those children who have grown up, Lord. Wow, it's just incredible. Thank you. Thank you for just all the effort, the love that's been poured into these children and the difference it's making, Lord, for so many future generations. What a blessing. Thank you for all your people who have helped make this possible with the giving of funds and time and energy, and of course, Lord, for Tommy's effort, the love that he poured into that place, and for now to be able to see the results of that, of what a gift that is that you've given him. So God bless us tonight. We pray for those of our number who are struggling in different ways. God, we continue to pray for Doug Riffey as he awaits a new heart. We pray for our shut-ins, Lord, and bless each and every one of them. Lord, we pray for our efforts this coming year in 2025, that we would help make Jesus known and continue to do what we can in this community, Father, to love our neighbor. Bless our time together tonight. In Jesus we pray. Amen. All right, we're going to watch this video clip, and then you can find a table. We've got 3 different tables tonight. All right, let's head off to a table and we'll begin our discussion.
Because we did that deal with Finance for a week. And I remember Tommy's friend that was doing he was the dentist that was there. So he was like, wow, it's like there was very little decay. It was broken teeth and things like that they fixed, you know. Well, that video was amazing. That from
Because then you're gonna say another one. Wait.
I read, as I find them, they go out,
they go with
our text, I'll show them. It really sets the scene well.
Have you watched the series? Have you watched the
No,
Chosen?
I contemplated.
Oh, Bruce.
Oh, yeah, you need to watch the whole 5 seasons,
Yes,
something like that.
I think that's right. Or 4, I think it's the 5th about to come
This is
out.
the 5th season, I guess.
Well, who'd like to read? 22 through 36, Matthew 14.
I can use it.
Okay.
Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on the mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it is you," Peter replied, tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. And Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, He was afraid and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." When they had crossed over, they landed at Gennesaret. And when the men of that place recognized Jesus, they sent word to all the surrounding country. People brought all their sick to him and begged him to just touch the edge of his cloak, and all he touched were healed.
So Jesus is on his way to the Decapolis, and they mention that like, Peter was a little upset. Like, why are we going over there? Jesus had sent them ahead. We're not told. As we get to the end and into chapter 15, because in chapter 15 he's going to heal a Canaanite woman who's a Gentile from this area, and then we find the feeding of 4,000 right after that, and these are 4,000 Gentiles, not including women and children. So he's heading to an area that the disciples are probably not real happy about. A Jew would not have been happy about that, just because of the years of what they had been taught about the Gentiles. I liked how they made that connection in the video. We don't have that recorded, obviously, but it's like, what would they have been thinking? And no doubt it was in the forefront of their mind.
The Jews wouldn't be caught dead going over and across the lake to the Decapolis.
Right.
So that was like no man's land. You just didn't go there. So I appreciate the way they make that very clear.
Yes.
To the point where Peter's like, "Why are you doing these things for these people? And we're hurting right here, my own family." You know?
Exactly.
He was just helping him grow everyone,
That's right.
no matter what side of it.
Well, and they all were going to need courage.
Right.
I think that's the whole, one of the big lessons here. He allowed this story to happen because they needed to know our faith is God. If it's in Jesus, we're going to be okay no matter what happens. Even going to enemy territory, we're going to be okay. Jesus has got this. Jesus is in the boat. This opening just kind of, I like to ask these things, just help us get to know each other. Of all your adventures in life, which was the most daring? The most daring adventure?
Going to Ghana.
Ghana. I figured you were going to say that.
When Kristen was in high school, youth school, we had 2 trips to the City of Children, which is in Mexico, in Baja. Anyway, and I don't leave the country. But Kristen was going to. Anyway, and I don't know. It was the City of Children. It was a orphanage that they could. So we went. And we crossed the border, and all these little boys had machine guns, right there. I mean, they were little boys, and it was just like, oh gosh. But I was not going to let Krista go because she wanted to go with the youth. Anyway, that was my daring, going there. But we mixed concrete and poured concrete dry, like she was doing there. And of course, Bible study with
How did you feel when you left? Did you feel different than when you got there?
totally. And it was like y'all said, the water there, we couldn't drink it. And one of our kids actually took a shower and got water in his mouth and got sick. Anyway, but you had to just be careful. And then they had the big tub, big tanks full of water that they used for washing dishes and stuff. It was just a different world. But I was glad I went. Even though I was scared.
I've done a couple of things. Looking back on it. Some whitewater rafting, some pretty tough rivers. You know, the Yakagini River in Virginia, and the Grand Canyon.
I was going to say Colorado.
Colorado River. There was waves going into those rapids. We were on the big rafts, huge rafts, and they could handle it. But even with that, I mean, there's always a chance of boat flipping over, you know. But it's pretty incredible.
Kristen was on the employee, and I was not there. Ron Naylor, which was Libby's first husband, he was there. And she said, "You saved my life," because she bounced off of it. And, you know, just never got
Do you remember going down the Alcoa?
No, I didn't go there.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
I remember going down it this was years ago. Pretty serious rapids.
Catherine, how about you?
I ain't never done
I've done anything. You had your brain surgery.
anything. Yeah, but
Well, that's pretty daring.
That's pretty daring.
yeah,
You
well,
knew.
all right. I got mad. I got depressed. I'd get out and walk farther in that hollow, go back in it. I'd sit down on this big rock, and I'd think, man, all the mothers have been through school, and they got jobs and everything, and I've been through college too. And then I got to run my head off the roof. Something ain't right.
Just not fair.
Well, my daddy said they do all. He said, "You need to change your attitude." And he was right. I needed to change my attitude.
That'll do it.
When Daddy says, I think you're hurt.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I went to see Dr. Hunter and Carol Sue when I went home this past
did
weekend.
you?
I usually go see them about once every 4 months. Yeah. And, you know, I think his memory's getting worse. I remember things as good. He's slower and everything now. I think her elbow where she broke the one and everything's healing up better and everything. And she says, "Oh, well, I've been meaning to get him out and take him to get his haircut. And you're here, you can help." And I said, "Okay, I'll go get him out." Get him out and everything. Got him in the van and took him to get his haircut. And she stopped at Cracker Barrel to get us some dinner steak. Yeah. It was good. I was glad. I've been meaning to go see him for the past couple of months or longer, and I thought, I ain't letting that family stop me. Nothing to stop me. I ain't even going to tell him all. I'm just going, when I get home, I'm going to tell my brother I'm going to see Dr. Hunter and them, and I'll help you later.
Glad you did.
I'm sure they were glad.
Yes, they were. Yeah.
Doug, can you think of anything?
Yeah, Doug. Ventures.
I can't think of anything except leaving, going to reserve.
Scary.
I got up, I saw they were going to South Carolina. And got up to Parasol. It was early in the morning, and real started screaming. They screamed all the time. It's there.
Man, I didn't realize you were in the reserves. I didn't realize you were in the reserves.
Everybody talked about Parasol, so
You thought you needed to go.
it wasn't nothing like that. It's more mentally, that break, you know, this concentrated. Make them think like military.
Teach you how to take orders.
Make a man out of you.
Make you feel like you're nothing.
Is it
They
really?
did that all right. They sure did that.
But then they build you back up. They tear you down.
Tear you down.
And then they bring you back as a, supposedly,
That's the theory.
that's a theory.
Never hurts to meet different names.
And those are the nice things.
Yeah, those are the ones you can repeat. Oh.
Jesus dismissed the disciples pretty abruptly. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get in the boat. Why did he do that? And then Jesus goes off to pray by himself. Why do you think Jesus wanted to pray alone? And how might Jesus be tempted by his mounting popularity and the crowd's clamor for a king? John 6:15 gives us that background. They were ready to force Jesus to become king. And if you got that, of course.
Yeah, and it's just interesting that the disciples probably had their own thoughts about that, but probably from a little different standpoint than the people who want to force this, who want to force it on Jesus and force him to be a king. But it was like you said Sunday. I mean, if anybody got killed, he could raise them. If they were hungry, he could feed them. What else do you need?
Instant medical help and all the food you ever need.
It's all right. It's all right there. It makes perfect sense to them. That was 6:15.
Yes.
Verse 14 says, after the people saw the sign Jesus performed, they began to say, surely this is the prophet who is to come into the world. Jesus, knowing that they intended to come and make him king by force, withdrew again to the mountain by himself. And that's an important detail. Because Jesus is probably trying to get his disciples out of there, to get them away.
They get caught right up in it as well. They were ready for him to. Let's get the show on the road.
I kind of fit there. Yeah, I kind of fit there. What have we been waiting for? Let's go.
This is the time.
Because you could always tell that Peter was always like, let's go. At least from the chosen, he's always like, what are we waiting for? Let's go. We got it. We've got everything we need. So,
He needed to learn a little bit more.
And James and John also, because they're continuing to discuss and argue who's going to sit at his right and his left. They're picturing this earthly kingdom, and they want to be places of leadership. That's right.
That's my favorite phrase.
What's that?
The Sons of Thunder. That was a name I don't know. I can't remember where that.
It's in Scripture.
Yeah, and Jesus looks at them again, kind of jokingly in the chosen. He's like, Sons of Thunder. He makes fun, makes light of it, and it's hilarious. Some of those things they say. But I thought it was interesting also Sunday when you made it about abrupt, the way he abruptly did it. And it's almost a forcing. It's not all right, let's go on. It's like, go now.
That's right. He made them. Jesus made the disciples get them. Yeah.
But they know. They still did it, whether they liked it or not.
Right.
They did it.
There's probably a little bit of discussion though. You have to make someone, not just do it. Yeah. There's a little bit of look. I'm telling you what to do. Do it. You don't understand right now, but you got to trust me in this.
Well, that's the way we are about our parents too. When they tell us to do something, just listen to them and do it. That's what I tell you forward, explain. Because eventually it comes out as to why your parents tell you to do what they tell you.
It's like go to school every day. You're going to learn something.
And I remember, I can't remember if it was the Ezzos or where it was, but we learned that there were times when you're parenting by your authority It's not a question of answering why. This is, we're doing this for a reason. You don't question the reason, you know. But then eventually you reach that point where you can't value your relationship and the difference between the two. I always thought that was interesting.
Exactly.
Because there were times when you could not
Give an answer.
you can't explain why you're trying to grab your child before they run out in front of a bus. You know, time to tell you why. Listen to me. You know.
Exactly. Any thoughts why Jesus wanted to pray alone? That's verse 23.
John the Baptist killed.
Yeah.
I get some ways like people today when there's a death and everything, of course you have a funeral or whatever, but there are times when you feel like you need to be alone, and there are times when you want company or whatever too. Yeah.
He'd gone just from hearing the news about John, hoping to have some quiet time, and all of a sudden this crowd comes. He teaches all day, and he heals, and he feeds them. You kind of get to a point when, anybody, even the Son of God, his humanity comes out here. He needed time alone. And that's okay. There's time and a place for that.
And I have to also think that things are starting to happen. Things are really starting to happen. And he is feeling the responsibility of these disciples, teaching them how much can I teach them, how hard do I push them, how do I teach them? How do I, yeah, do I, you know, I mean, it's just like any situation where you're trying to teach people.
And you know your time's limited.
Yeah, absolutely. So you got to kind of gauge how hard can I push, how long do I wait?
Yeah.
How long do I wait before I go out there and let them struggle? And,
Exactly.
those are hard, especially if you've been a parent. You've dealt with a lot of those things when with your kids. How long do I let them?
I think we also see here that life is so like this. One moment you're on a mountaintop. Man, we're feeding all these people. It's a miracle. You're at that, just the pinnacle of their faith probably. Like they've never seen anything like this before. And you go from that to thinking you're going to die within a matter of hours. But isn't that life? It's just so real that can happen. One moment you could just be having the best day of your life, and 3 hours later you got news, horrible news, and all of us in this room, we've had things like that happen where you're just like, I'm undone. How can I? But that's reality. What do you do in those moments? Do we give up? Do you walk away, or do you look up?
Look up.
Look up.
I started saying pray.
I found myself in a situation, and nothing I had done should have been in that situation, but I realized I had no control over any of the situation, and there was no reason to get mad, feel bad, retaliate, or do anything except pray. And it took time, but I had to get away, take that time and pray before everything kind of just went back together. But if I'd have just said, I'm done, I can't do this no more, I'm not doing this, it would have never come back around to where it needed to be, and God had it, and I wasn't doing hell to him.
Yeah. Put this question in here about the temptations, because that's back in Matthew 4. 3 through 10 is when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness. And just thought it might be kind of interesting to try to connect that period of temptations with this temptation here of them making him king. If there was ever a time of him taking on that earthly power, it would have been now.
It was not in God's plan. And he knew that he was not on the earth to be an earthly king. Yeah. Well, he was going to be a king, all right, but it wasn't going to be on this earth. So, I mean, he's our king.
He's our spiritual king.
Right. And sure, I start saying he's a prince, but he's a throne. And we will be around that throne someday. Yeah.
When you said that, can't help it. I mean, you're grateful that he was who he was, because a lesser man would have thought, yeah, let's go.
Why not?
Why not?
Let's do it.
Creator is king. King. And I've got all this power. Yeah. A lesser man who did not understand or know his Father's will.
This is where we have to remember that Jesus wasn't just fully God, he was fully man.
And that does make you think, what did he have to do internally to stay?
In 1 Corinthians, I think it's chapter 10, talks about how Jesus, part of the reason why he is such a great high priest is that he understands what we're going through, because he was tempted. We're told he was tempted in every way, just as man was, yet he was without sin. Y'all remember that? Where is that at? Get my glasses.
I've learned none, but I don't know.
My concordance. That might be back in chapter 6. I know.
Right here, verse 13, chapter 10, verse 13. It says, there hath no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
And then Hebrews, I think it's also in Hebrews that talks about it's our high priest, that he was tempted. That might actually be more the one I was looking for. He was tempted in every way. Where is it? I think it's chapter 4. There it is. Hebrews 4:14. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to empathize with our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. Let us then approach God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace and help us in the time of need.
And sometimes you have to get away from the situation and pray to be able to get through that. I mean, that's the way it happened.
That's exactly what Jesus did.
And that's what I had to do.
Yes.
That's right. We go well back to what you said about his disciples earlier, because you wanted to get away, get them away from the crowd and everything. Like you said, they would get caught up in doing what the crowd was doing or wanting to do. Yeah. Once in a while, you just got to get away from the crowd or the group or whoever before you do something you wish you hadn't done.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
And even like him saying, well, why are you going over here when we got things? You know, we got stuff going on. Why are you know? And he couldn't listen to that because it would have been easier for him to not, you know, take care of his own business.
Well, I guess in a way, when opportunity knocks for you to go help somebody else or whatever, you should go do it because he probably knew you would be coming back to that area anyway. So, if opportunity knocks for us to go do something local or wherever, and we can do it, we should go ahead and do it for the Lord and give him glory and praise. Because we know that we ain't going to go there forever, that we'll probably come back over here if the Lord will.
Where you going, Catherine?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay in Knoxville.
Danny said something earlier that, yeah, I mean, this is, Jesus is at the height of his popularity right now. At this moment in Matthew 14, this is, if there was ever a time for him to be king and take the throne, it was now. Because when he turns his back on that, he now is going to be setting his direction toward Jerusalem. And just a few chapters later. And people are going to be mad that he didn't take it. They'll be like, well, we'll go find somebody else then. If you're not going to be the Messiah, then we'll go find somebody else to be the Messiah.
And he will shortly begin to tell them, his own disciples, he's gonna die. He's gonna leave him, and he's gonna die.
And they're going to suffer.
Oh yeah. Well, number one, we haven't even gotten there yet. This is just about him.
Yeah.
And Peter's not having anything. He is not having like.
Don't leave me, don't leave me. It's
We're
just like
not
that.
having that. You're talking crazy.
Jesus also said, get behind me, Satan. Yeah, when Peter started talking that way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in chapter 16, Danny. We're almost there.
Yeah.
I'll start chapter 15 this Sunday. But it's Peter's declaration that Jesus is the Messiah. And right after that, he predicts his death. You know, man, they must have been confused. You know, we put our...
You talk about a roller coaster?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That is a roller coaster.
Kind of like how I felt going into the Lions game against Washington Commanders. First, I knew we were going to win that game. I just felt it.
But you didn't?
2 hours later,
Really?
Detroit got beat. Reality.
Those are hard.
Sports will do that to you, won't it? They will take you from just the highs to the lows very fast.
Sometimes in less than an hour.
Good lesson on life. Sure. All right, guys, we have looked through these. See if there's another one or two you want to do, because we're about done.
He announced they're going to do Moses next, then they're going to come back.
Number 6 is kind of interesting. What did Peter's actions reveal about his personality? Why do you think Jesus invites Peter and us to step out in faith? When did Peter begin to sink? What was Peter like? What was his personality like?
Gun ho about things, and he thought, I'll ask him, he'll probably try it. But yeah, when he turned his eyes,
He was kind of the spokesperson, wasn't he?
yeah, he was the leader of the pack.
He was the alpha male, I guess you would say.
He was like the go-getter. Let's do it now. Let's not wait. Let's not think about it no more. Let's just go.
Get her done.
Well, Jesus wanted him to step out, I guess, so that he would keep his focus on Jesus and realize that Jesus was the one that was going to be guiding him, holding on to him, and carrying him and everything. And that at the same time, that would help build his faith too. Yeah.
but also the others who would be watching, who would follow.
Yeah.
They're like, well, Peter can do it.
I can do it.
I can do that. You can do it. So it was probably something that Jesus knew that if he could convince Peter, he could then give him convince the rest of them.
Because they would see.
He kind of questions if it's you. Like there's a seed of doubt.
It's a proof. It's a prove it kind of.
We have to remember, it is pitch dark. There's no electricity, no lights on shore, there's no moon, it's a storm, other than maybe the lightning. And you would see this shadow.
Well, that's just like that. And I kind of see it halfway through, and then it got real bright. I saw it, and I thought, there's Jesus out there. That ain't no ghost or anything. I'm like, I think of a ghost.
Yeah, I always, because I don't know what they're. We have our American concept of a ghost or whatever kind of thing. But I don't know what. I have no idea, no frame of reference to know what they
believed in what they call disembodied spirits. We would call them ghosts.
Like a vapor.
People who had died on the water, they believed sometimes came back. So they were very superstitious. A lot of ancient, and even in third world cultures are still that way. Remember in Ghana, it was Wednesdays they wouldn't fish. It was one of the days because they believed the spirits came out of the water. Those boats were all put up, and they believed it. Like, you don't go in the water these days, or you're at risk of dying. So they at first thought this can't be, human. It's got to be one of these.
It can only be bad.
It'll be bad. But then they heard him. Take courage, it's I. So they heard his voice, knew his voice, with Peter still, if it's you.
Tell me to come out there and walk on the water. Yeah.
What was the? It's so funny because they always use little bits of humor in some of their statements, and one of them says. Did he say, why do I feel like I've seen something like this before?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
That was a
why is
feeding
the
of the
second time?
5,000.
Yeah. But said something tonight.
Thomas.
He said something tonight
Who was it?
where he said something about twice in one day. Or something
Yeah.
like that. Did you catch that?
Yeah, what was that about?
Well, earlier was a feeding.
Earlier was the
Okay,
thing.
yeah.
He was like,
Yeah.
why is this like the second miraculous thing I've seen
he did
today?
say
Or something like that.
Within 24 hours, you thought you saw everything. No, you haven't seen
Yeah.
everything yet.
I love the way they built it. That's just fun.
Maybe number 9, as we close. Would you be more likely to stay in the boat or step out of it? Why?
And there's
Step out.
well, if the Lord commands me to do it,
You do it.
I would do it. Yeah. But other than that,
But you're not going to offer it.
no, I'm going willingly. I let somebody else go first. I've always been told let somebody else go first. Oh, or I've got to try and get somebody else and say, maybe one of them, let's go together. You and I together go to Jesus. At the same time. Yes, the
If I thought it was, if I knew what they knew,
okay.
I'd go to Mexico.
But if I was in the boat and it was the first time I ever came in this with them, I'd say, let's you and I go together. Instead of worrying about myself, just go together. Because Jesus
Would you be more likely to stay in first?
He'd
That's
step
what I was
out.
going to
Oh,
say.
he would.
Because you could step out and start to sink and swim.
Yeah. It's a
Well, I don't know, if the waves are like this, it'd be kind of hard to swim.
So let's take it a different route. Say you stand on the end of the cliff and he said, jump.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
And you will not splash the pop.
Bruce, that's
you'll
good.
come down
That's
and
good.
land on your feet. All right, now that right there is
It's
the
faith.
faith.
That's faith.
'Cause this old boy is scared of height.
If you start,
Step down there, I step out in a heartbeat. I ain't afraid of swimming.
but you jump off the cliff. All right,
That's
you
a
jump
great
off the
example.
cliff.
It really is.
I love it.
No, that's a good example.
Yeah, but if you jump off the cliff
Yeah.
and you're afraid you're going to hit the ground or the rocks, or he's trying to get down there under you and catch you before you hit him.
Well, he'll be
Yeah, but
down.
he's saying on his own, he's able to swim. So stepping out
No,
in the field.
no parachute or nothing. Just
Right.
come to me and jump.
If I'd have seen everything he did that day, I probably would have stepped out.
You
I
know.
want to say one of the Raiders of the Lost Ark, was it there, they had to step across the chasm and believe.
Oh, yeah,
And then
yeah.
the board appeared, like it was invisible
Yeah,
until
yeah, you couldn't see it until you, yeah.
That was on what?
It was in
Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's actually it's
the golden.
yeah, the one that cut.
I didn't watch them all.
I ain't watching.
Yeah, that was a
It's
good
been a
one.
long
It was a
time
good
since
one.
I've seen any of them.
It kind of had
I
some
know why I
biblical
couldn't
things
watch
in there.
Did it?
Yeah. Talking about faith, that was an example. Do I really believe?
And after we found that, I went back.
Yeah, I would hope that I
Showing me that
would.
verse.
I don't know until that moment comes.
You don't know until you're put in the right situation at the right time.
I seen everything I seen.
You've been working up to it, being so scared about the waves and everything, about, you know, sinking and drowning and everything, and then say, get out.
To go get out of the boat.
Yeah.
The boat's the only thing that's keeping you alive.
It'd take faith.
That's true. Very true.
I guess I started to say Jesus is a crash course in the things that'll happen. And that they, you know, you're going to have to build up their faith and trust in Him, rely on Him, you know, with their heart and everything.
Thank you all.
And not
That was
just-
great. Fantastic discussion. Appreciate you all.
You're welcome. We appreciate you.
Thank you.